What is happening, guys? So that track day in the Fiesta ST was an absolute success, and I am well and truly bitten by the track day bug. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll put a link up here somewhere. Go and watch that video of my first ever track day in a car in this absolute beast of a little ST180. So off the back of the track day, we found out a few things about the car and sort of where it's let down. Now, this is a 2013, so it's a 7-8-year-old car. The suspension looks pretty original underneath, and obviously all the bushes and things are. So, the original plan was to go throwing loads of power at it and things like that, but what we're going to do now, we're going to be addressing the chassis side of it, so suspension, all the bushes and things of that nature. We also want to try and get a bit of weight out of the car, so we'll be taking the interior out and things like that. And because we've bought a turbocharged car, I figured it'd be rude to not fit a boost gauge. So that's what this one's going to be about. I bought a Turbo Smart boost gauge, which is in PSI, not bar, and we're going to be fitting that to the little Fiesta. Now, I've also bought, because I want it to sit nicely, you can put it in the driver's vent, and because this is going to be a track car, not a road car, I'm not too worried with getting rid of the air vent. Although, what I've bought is this little 3D printed bezel. I'll put a link to this in the description. It's a small little company. I think the guy just 3D prints from home. Really fast service, great looking little product as well. So yeah, I'll put a link in the description to this and we'll see how this fits in, because I'm hoping this one utilises some of the original bezel and everything in the car, but I'm not 100% sure. We'll find that out in a minute. So, the boost gauge. Now, I've obviously not the first person in the world to have ever fitted a boost gauge to a car, or to this car. There are already a few videos online, which obviously I've watched. So, we've got a nice little Turbo Smart boost gauge. We've got the bezel, put it in there. We've got, this is the takeoff that goes on top of the engine, which bolts down, which we'll show you. We've got a bit of pipe to get it through. And then we've got the bracket and the little valve or little reducer that's in there to give us the correct flow to the gauge, because I've read that the gauges can run a bit dodgy if you don't run that little reducer in it. Now, I've also bought a Symposer delete. Now again, I'm not 100% sure on these, but what I've read is the Symposer is a little box on the right hand side of the engine that somehow uses vacuum or something along them lines to move a diaphragm that then sends noise from the engine into the cab to make it sound like you're going faster and revving more, I think. I'm not 100% sure, but I've read that they are prone to leaking and to losing boost through them, so we've bought a delete for that as well. So, today's episode, we're going to be fitting the boost gauge and the Symposer delete. So the first thing we need to do is work out how to get this vent out. Now, I've watched a few videos on it and it doesn't look like it's the easiest, but we'll give it a go and we'll try and get it out. Well, that's an absolute pain of a job. So you've got 3 of these around it that are, you can't get to, you cannot get to them. So don't be too worried about leaving it on the dash either. It's very soft and it will come back, so don't worry too much about leaving it on it. I've been absolutely hammering that and it's okay. Now I've got that off, let's go and see how this one mounts on. I think I've got an idea. Got a bit warm doing that, take my hat off. So this is now out. What we're going to do now is remove this silver ring. Remove the silver ring, and then the inside comes out. And then the reason I went for this one over some of the others is it's got that angle on it there. That fits in there like that, and then the chrome ring goes over the top and holds it all in place. But what we want to do first is we want to put the boost gauge in and mount the gauge itself into this this little pod. In one of the bags you've got a bracket here, and you've got these 2 screws terminal on here. That's supposed to go over there, and those holes go through it like that, so that then clamps to this and pulls the gauge in, but it's too long. So I'm going to cut a little bit off. Now that's cut, that goes straight over the back like that. A couple of nuts on there, and that'll hold that in place. So that is the boost gauge mounted to that. We'll pop that inside this housing. So that's in there, and then we'll clip this face bit on in the right orientation. Like that, and that is in there now. So now that's all together, we need to look at getting the pipe from the inside of the car to the engine bay. There we go then, that clear pipe is now in the engine bay, and the way we did that was up here where this black cable that you can see at the bottom is the bonnet release, and then up there there's a little grommet that's got two little wires going through out to the engine bay. I pierced a hole in it with a pick, and I then used I've got some throttle cable inner, if you like, pushed that through into the engine bay, and I then put that inside the tube, taped it to it, pulled it through, and that is now in. Now we've got that pipe done, it's time to start looking at connecting it up to the boost gauge, which is inside the car. So we've got a clear pipe coming up here, which goes onto this little bit down here, the inlet, and then we've obviously got a positive and a negative feed to go to it for all the lights that are on this, so you can see it at night. So we've got this hose here. Now in the pack you get a T-piece, which is for if in the engine bay you're just going to cut a vacuum line, put that in, and then that little T-piece goes off to the boost gauge, and in the end of that you've got this little tiny little restrictor, which would obviously then restrict the flow of air to the gauge, but because we're not using that T-piece, we've not got this in. So what we need to do is pop this down this tube to restrict the flow of air to the gauge, otherwise the needle bounces from what I have read. So push that down to a point, down to there, and what I've done is I've put a cable tie that side to stop it going any further, and we'll put a cable tie this side again to stop it going any further, just so it can't move. Hopefully it will make it okay. When you've removed all the vent and you've got the light out, there is actually a hole or a gap between the two to get the boost pipe up and then to get the cables down to the back of the light switches, which is where we're going to take the power feed from. So if we push that out of the way, we'll pop these wires down there, sit that in place, and I've been led to believe on this switch the two that you want to use are number 11 here, which is a black cable with a grey trace, which we'll use as your earth, and then number 7, which is a purple wire. I think it's a solid purple wire, which you'll use as your live. So what we'll do first, we'll just push the red into the purple one just to check that we've got them right. This is just what I've read online. Push them in there. I haven't got the keys on this, we'll get the keys. Keys are in there. Put the ignition on this, should light up. Look at that. She's on. So they're correct. So what we can do now is get the hose on this end, we'll solder them into the light switch, take them back up, and then we can look under the bonnet, see what we've got to do there. That is on. I've just chucked a cable tie around it as well, just to hold it on. It's nice and tight, and that is going nowhere. So that is pretty much that part done. Now under the bonnet, we've got the hose routed here and cable tied neatly out of the way. What we're going to be doing is going to this area here. We've got this, which is an adapter, so we take this off, this fits on here, that then fits into that. Pipe goes on that end. And then we should have a boost reading at the gauge. But after a fair amount of faffing, I've managed to get this end on. Now, I ordered this kit from Puma Speed because it was the cheapest place to buy the gauge and this little adapter. And the hose that comes in the Turbo Smart gauge doesn't actually fit on the end of the adapter that Puma Speed sell and supply with the kit. So this little clear pipe here doesn't go on to the nipple that's on here. What I've had to do is I've found a bit of black pipe that I've got in the workshop. The difference is that much that obviously the black pipe's gone onto that nipple and the clear pipe's actually gone inside the black pipe. It's in by about that much. We've put a little bit of glue around it as well to hold it in place, and obviously I need to put a cable tie that end. For now, it'll do, but I am going to replace the whole pipe, I think, because I'm really not happy with that, and I can't see that lasting very long. But it's on, so let's start it up and see if the gauge actually reads any boost. Ignition on, start up. So yeah, we've got a reading. We've got a reading. So that is working like a treat. So that's the first little job off the list. Now the boost gauge is in and working. The next little thing that I want to do, which is, I've seen people have mixed results online, but apparently you can lose boost through it, and it's something I've just been advised to do. Now the problem is we can't drive the car and test it now and then test it after we've fitted this, but we're going to get it on anyway, and that is the Symposer delete. So the Symposer is this unit here, and basically I think what it does is it comes off the inlet side into the inlet manifold. There's a pipe that comes off it, there's a little valve in there, and this pipe goes off into the cabin and gives you sort of engine noise in the cabin, but these are prone to boost leaks. So we're going to take this out, so you undo that, this unclips from the engine, we've got those annoying clips down there to undo, and we'll pull this off. And then this bung from Puma Speed, if it focuses, goes in that pipe down there, put the clamp back on, and that's that done. And there it is. What an absolute pain that is to get out. For some reason, Ford in their infinite wisdom put the clip in the complete opposite way of it actually being accessible. And these springy little clips that you've got absolutely no chance of moving or getting to, but it's out. So that's the pipe, that's the bung, that's the hose clip. Let's get these fitted. And then that's another little job done that we wanted to do. And that's the pipe that goes into the cabin, so what I'm going to do with that is just tuck that up out of the way so nothing can get in it and get into the cab. So that's tucked up behind there so no water can get in. I am probably going to end up trying to remove that completely, but for now, they are done. Symposer delete done. Boost gauge all plumbed in to the inlet manifold with that little bracket. Clear pipe obviously is going to need changing because it doesn't quite fit properly. But let's jump in the car, start her up. Oh. Start her up, make sure everything looks okay. Sweet. So, that's those little bits done. So that's another couple of little bits done. We've got plenty more to go. I've got plenty more stuff on its way for this car. So, we'll leave this one here then, guys. Until next time, enjoy.